Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Grant, and today we're talking about the narrow road. Jesus, as he ends the Sermon on the Mount, after he's been telling people how to live a godly life, he actually ends with this warning. You would assume this really long message would end with this really fun and uplifting moment, but instead it's like Jesus pivots his attention towards the naysayers, the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the room, and he has this to say in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 through 14. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy. That leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow, and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. There's certain moments in Scripture where when you read it, you're forced to realize this reality that we all live for eternity. But there are two realities in our eternity. There's one in which we've stepped into an intimate and personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and we spend eternity with the Father the way things were always meant to be. And there's this other reality where we spend eternity in hell. If heaven is real, so too is hell. And Christ, he's just presented this incredible argument for what does it look like to love God and love others exceptionally well, to honor yourself and to honor God. You see that through the whole Sermon on the Mount. And he gets to the very end and he pivots the conversation. He goes, but I say this to you, I've raised the bar, and I got to tell you, most of you aren't going to meet it. In fact, most of you are going to stumble into what you think is the right path. It's going to feel like the easy path, but it will blindly take you to a place of destruction. But there's a more difficult path, a more narrow path, and that path leads to eternity with the Father. A question that I had to ask myself at one point in my life, even though I was raised in a Christian home, is, am I a Christian really? You're not a Christian because you had a family that took you to Sunday school, and you're not a Christian because your family had you go through a bunch of classes when you were 13 years old, and then you end up having your first communion. You're not a Christian because someone else gave you that title in your home. You're a Christian because at some point you picked up the cross on your back and said, Christ, I need you. I need all of you. I need every bit of you. I have to die to my old self and live to my new self. And here's my theory for most of us as we've tried to follow Jesus. Is some of us have never realized we're not Christians for us to become Christians, or we enjoy way too much of the world to actually enjoy Jesus, or we have way too much Jesus in our life to actually enjoy the world. And so we live in this constant tension of discontentment, thinking that following Jesus doesn't feel like enough, but for some reason the world doesn't seem to satisfy. And I guess my question for you is, if there was ever a moment and an opportunity for you to step onto the narrow path, the path of pursuing righteousness, the path of knowing that you've been made whole by Christ, if you were to step onto that path and walk onto that path, how much more different would it be? The path isn't meant to be easy. The path is actually quite difficult. But for that brief moment of our existence that you and we spend here on earth, wouldn't it all be worth it for that moment where we're all together in eternity with the Father? Thank you for watching the Daily Devo.